What's going on, everybody? It's YG here, coming at you with a brand new video. So it's only been around a month and a half since I made my last Lyrilusc Tri-Brigade / Bird Up deck profile on the channel, but I figured I might as well make a new one because I have changed up the build just slightly, as well as found new combos and want to focus on fixing my mistakes with the last combos, as I did accidentally say that you could do something that you actually couldn't, and that was completely on me, so I decided might as well remake it, just to show off the few little changes and an extra combo in order to help people out. Just a warning before we start, this is probably going to look really scuffed because while I have the perfect lighting and camera angles set up, I found out that it's going to be really hard for me to actually access the cards, so yeah, that might be a little bit of a problem, but it's fine, it's fine. But without further ado, I don't want to keep you guys waiting, so let's go ahead and get right into my Lyrilusc Tri-Brigade / Bird Up deck profile for the April 2022 format. So starting off with our Tri-Brigade package, if I can get up in there, we have 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Fraktall, 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Nerval, 2 copies of Tri-Brigade Karis, and 1 copy of Tri-Brigade Kit. Now I know seeing 2 Karis, especially in a non-Melfi or non-pure Tri build, is going to be very off-putting to some. I know it's like a bit of a controversial take because, you know, you don't really want to see Karis too often. But keep in mind that since the last Forbidden Limited list, the build has become a lot more Tri-Brigade oriented, and having Karis in your opening hand is pretty good now, actually. Plus, he's actually one of many flex spots in the deck, in terms of multiple copies of things, that allows you to easily side in and out things for games 2 and 3, which is something I really enjoy about the deck since its inception after the last ban list. The extra combo I'm going to be showing to you guys that I didn't showcase in my last video because I didn't really understand it myself at first, is opening Fraktall and any BBW, or opening Karis and Kit or something like that, is basically a guaranteed full combo minus the double Dragon Lords, unless you also open another Tri-Brigade, because then that is full combo. You just have to neg your entire hand to do it. See, I really enjoy my Tri-Brigade ratio. However, I do feel like Karis can be messed around with in terms of between 1 and 2, so don't worry if you don't want to follow it exactly. And I'm sorry if my mic sounds really scuffed. Like I said, I have to kind of like lean over, and so it's just not going to sound the greatest. Next up, of course, is our Lyrilusc package. We have 3 copies of Turquoise Warbler, 3 copies of Cobalt Sparrow, 2 copies of Celestine Wagtail, 2 copies of Sapphire Swallow, and 2 copies of Barrel Canary. So we actually still run quite a large Lyrilusc package. I'm sorry, it took me a little bit to say that. And I'm actually quite fond of the package I'm running. A lot of people swear by 1 Sapphire, I swear by 2, no matter what build I'm playing, and I also like having the second Barrel Canary in order in case, you know, if I fail a combo, maybe my opponent has too many outs, then I can at least fall back on a Barrel Canary and a multiple material ensemble, as well as Barrel Canary being really good going second, especially game 1, because, you know, it's just a free Zeus right there, which is sort of the entire deck's goal when being forced to go second. However, once again, they are flex spots. You can cut down a copy of Sapphire and Barrel easily for games 2 and 3 for your side deck cards, and you can even cut down a copy of Cobalt if you really feel like you need to. Turquoise Cobalt or Turquoise Celestine is still the bread and butter combo preferably for the deck, with Fraktall Turquoise obviously being the quote-unquote best one, and it's really great now because you don't actually have to focus on drawing very specific things, right? Like opening Bird Call and Fraktall, if I recall correctly, wasn't very great back before the Forbidden Limited list, but now it's absolutely fine, and you can just access your full combos so much easier, even if it isn't as explosive as it was before. For just a couple miscellaneous BBWs, we have the 1 copy of Fabled Cerberel and the 1 copy of DD Crow. Of course, DD Crow being a searchable hand trap is still very relevant because DPE is still very obnoxious, as well as things like Scythe Lock. And then Cerberel is obviously for your Herald of the Arclight, which I showcased in the last video, but if you haven't seen the last video, then definitely stay until the end for the combos, and you'll actually see what the Fabled Cerberel is all about. For the normal monster hand traps, it's actually pretty standard for this format. We have 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, and I'm also main decking the 2 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. This is the main thing that was absent from the last video, because the format wasn't in a pile format, and so there was really no need. However, Ghost Ogre is absolutely insane right now against the Hulk engine, against the Adventurer engine, against so many different engines right now that it really warrants main decking. And even though I only main 2, my last tournament, in which I took first place and got the OTS Championship mat, I actually played finally against a pile deck myself, even though it was mostly just regular Eldritch with Adventure stuff in it. It wasn't really like pile, But I opened Ogre all 3 games, and he opened the Right or the Enchantress all 3 games, which I find actually hilarious, because he was so mad. He was like, how are you drawing Ogre every single hand? And I'm just like, he doesn't know that I play 6, but nah. Ogre is incredibly strong right now, even if you don't hit the adventure package, which is what it's mainly used for. It's really good against the Halka engine as well, because you can't get the Halka Fibrax and the Deskbot on board if you Ogre the Halka Fibrax. Then they're stuck with either the Deskbot, or they go for an Ogre themselves, so they can at least have it on field for an additional disruption. I actually really enjoy when Ogre is a really good main deck hand trap, or even a side deck hand trap, because Ghost Ogre was actually my first Ghost Girl, believe it or not. I still have my friend holding on to my very first copy of it after I sold it to him. It's a bit beat up, but man, I love Ghost Ogre. It's one of my favorite hand traps in the game by far. And that's it for all the monsters in the deck. Onto the back row, we have 3 copies of Lyrilusc Birdcall, and then we have, for the rest of the consistency cards, 1 copy of Fire Formation Tenki, 1 copy of 1-for-1, and 1 copy of Foolish Burial. 3 Birdcall, of course, is still very standard, especially because opening Birdcall Fraktall is now full combo, or Birdcall and any either Cobalt or a Turquoise, sorry. So 3 Birdcall is 3 Birdcall. And then Tenki searches your Fraktall. 1-for-1 is quite possibly one of the most broken cards in the entire deck, because it plus Nerval, or just any sort of thing that pluses when it's sent to grave, is incredibly good. And then Foolish Burial is just extra copies of Fraktall and Kit for the most part. And then for the rest of the spells, we play 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice, and of course the 1 Called by the Grave, because we are trying to combo. Konami, please bring it back to 2. I hate playing the 1 of, but that just about does it for these spell cards. And finally, onto the traps. Very, very simple here. We have 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, and the 1 copy of Revolt, because Revolt is good in Lyrilusc Tri-Brigade again, and summoning Shurg on the opponent's turn is actually busted. That's it for the main deck, though. Let's go ahead and get right onto the extra. For the extra deck, we play 1 copy of Recital Starling to start off our Xyz monsters, Rip Bozo, I guess, 1 copy of Lyrilusc Assembled Nightingale, and 1 copy of Ensemble Robin, just to start off with the Xyz monsters. Of course, Recital being your main consistency card, Assembled being your fastest way into Zeus, and Ensemble, while not being a main end-board piece anymore, unless you go for an alternate combo, which I will not show in this video. However, I did show it in my last one, so go ahead and check that out if you want to see how to end off on an Ensemble. It's still a great card in case you brick or are forced to go into a separate combo, because the only reason you don't go into it is because Bearbrum locks you into Tri-Brigades. Otherwise, you would definitely be going into it with every end board. For the rest of the Xyz monsters, we have the 1 copy of Downer Magician, and then the beautiful, the absolutely beautiful, ultimate rare, Divine Arsenal AA Zeus Sky Thunder. Honestly, I still prefer the Ultra, but I'm just playing it only to flex. But that does it for the Xyz monsters, pretty self-explanatory in my opinion. Let's go ahead and get onto the links. Onto the link monsters, we start off with 1 copy of Salamangre Almirage, because it's an Almirage, and if you go into Almirage for your very opening turn, you're probably not in a very good spot. 1 copy of Double Dragon Lords, quite possibly one of my favorite Link monster disruptions in the game. 1 copy of Farragut. The 1 copy of Bearbrum, whose effect actually comes into play in one of our combos in terms of specialing, which is really funny. The 1 copy of Rugal, strictly for the access code. 2 copies of Shurg, the Ominous Omen. Shurg is actually amazing at 2. 1 for your combo, and then 1 for the Banish follow-up with either Revolt or just on a turn in general. I love Shurg so much, one of my favorite cards in the game by far. 1 copy of Access Code Talker for ending games. And then, of course, your 1 copy of Appaloosa in order to end off on in case you need to. I'm just going to leave these here because after the links, we only have the 1 Synchro, being the Herald of the Arclight. And Arclight being an Omni Negate is great, but the Floodgate aspect also comes really in handy, as it does stop a lot of different things. That's it for the extra deck, though. I'm going to go ahead and start showcasing some of the combos, preferably with a different camera angle, and I will be right back. Alright, here we are in a much more comfortable situation. I managed to move the camera up onto my desk, so it may come out upside down, depending on whether or not I edit it. I'll probably try to, though, so that it's a bit easier for you guys to, look at. But I think it'll be fine. I don't think you guys mind if it's upside down or anything too much. Anyways, this is going to start off with just our regular basic Turquoise and Cobalt combo, which can end off on an Omni Negate, a Bounce, a Revolt Banish, which also gets you the follow-up of the Fraktall, as well as 2 negates off the Appaloosa. And all you need to do is start off with Turquoise and Cobalt, or Turquoise and Celestine. You end off on, like, the exact same thing. So anyways, you're going to start off, of course, because you control no monsters, you can special summon your Turquoise directly to your field, activating her effect to special summon the Cobalt as well. And you're going to go ahead and search off of your Cobalt, grabbing yourself anything that, any of these 2, I should say, starting off with the Nerval in case you don't have another level 1 Wing Beast to potentially special summon. Otherwise, you're just going to go straight into a Sapphire. But we're going to start with Nerval just in case. And we're going to go ahead and overlay these two for a copy of our Lyrilusc Recital Starling. Activating Recital Starling, of course, remember she can't be targeted by things like Valor or Imperm, which is really nice. You're going to detach, preferably your Turquoise just in case. And you're going to go ahead and grab your copy of Lyrilusc Sapphire Swallow. Now you have a Wing Beast on your board, as well as Sapphire and another level 1 Wing Beast, so you're going to activate her effect, special summoning her and the Nerval directly to your field. Make sure that you keep this zone in particular unoccupied, unless you want to put your Farragut over here. But now we're going to go ahead and link the Recital and the Sapphire off into our copy of Farragut. I'm gonna go ahead and just put it over here because that's the best place to put her arrow. And now, as you can see, our graveyard has 4 BBWs, so we're gonna go ahead and activate Tri-Brigade Nerval to go ahead and banish all 4 of them. Just gonna put it up here, and you're going to summon a copy of Tri-Brigade Shurig. Remember not to use the effect unless for some reason your opponent has something somehow, but you're gonna go ahead and immediately afterwards link your Nerval and your Shurig off into a copy of Tri-Brigade Barabrum, the Rampant Rampager. And now you can go chain link 1 Shurig, chain link 2 Nerval. It doesn't really matter what order you do it in, depending on what's in your hand at least. And you're going to go ahead and use the Nerval to search for one of your Kerases. And you're going to use the Shurig to search for your Fabled Cerberel. I apologize for the glare, by the way. The wrinkles in my card sleeve actually end up making the ring light have a very harsh glare on the cards, so I'll be sure to audibly say exactly what I'm doing with what and what I'm adding, so that it's easier to follow. But now we're going to go ahead and activate the effect of our Keras, discarding our Fabled Cerberel to special summon himself to our field. And now Cerberel will trigger, it's a mandatory activation. Because it was discarded to the graveyard, it gets special summoned directly to our field. Now we have a empty link zone as well as 2 BBWs in grave, so we're going to go ahead and use Keras, banishing the Nerval and the Shurig for a free Ancient Warrior's Oath Double Dragon Lords for your bounce. And now, as you'll notice, we have a level 2 and we have a level 2 tuner on board. So we're going to go ahead and use both of these for our Herald of the Arclight. Now we have our Omni Negate established. If our opponent hasn't nibbed us by now, then they're stupid, but also they won't be able to now because you have the Arclight. And then finally, you're going to go ahead and link your Farragut and your Barabrum off right into an Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess with 2 negates. I would bring out my dice, but I don't feel like digging for them. But now, of course, you get to trigger the Barabrum, adding your Revolt, and technically it's a 2.5 card combo because you do have to have something to put back, but you're going to have something to put back. You only use 2 cards. So you're just going to put whatever back, and then you get to set your Revolt. And so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 disruptions, as well as a free Fraktall, because you get to summon the Nerval back for the Revolt, send it to the graveyard, and trigger its effect to grab a Fraktall. And that is a guaranteed 1-card access code after that. And then either that or Fraktall Turquoise is the main combo in order to get to this. However, let's go ahead and see what happens if you open just a Fraktall and any other BBW. So you get your opening hand, and it looks a little something like this, you know, DD Crow, Fraktall, Ash, Imperm Ogre, or something like that. And you're like, man, this sucks, right? What can I do with this? I can't set up a board, I just gotta pass and use my hand traps. Not exactly. You can go ahead and start off by activating your Fraktall, discarding him to the graveyard, in order to dump your copy of Tri-Brigade Kit. Kit, of course, sending a Nerval, and Nerval, of course, adding your copy of Keras. Now we have Keras and any BBW in hand, so we can go ahead and use the Keras to pitch the DD Crow in order to special summon himself to our field. And now we have 4 Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beasts in our graveyard, so you can go ahead and activate your Keras to banish them, and you can go ahead and make a Shurig. I'm also just going to go ahead and put 3 blank random cards in my hand. It really does matter, by the way, because now we're going to go ahead and use our Shurig and our Keras to link off into a Barabrum. Shurig, of course, will trigger just like last time, and because you have 4 Banished Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beasts, you can add a level 4 or lower, and we're going to go straight into adding our Cerberel. We can now activate Barabrum's effect, discarding Cerberel and any random card in our hand to special summon our Tri-Brigade Kit. And now we get to trigger Cerberel to special itself because it is a mandatory. And now we can go ahead and use the Kit, banishing Keras and Shurig to summon a copy of Farragut. And now we get to use the Kit and the Cerberel in order to make a Herald of the Arclight. And we can use the Farragut and the Barabrum to go into our 2 negate Appaloosa. Barabrum, of course, grabbing you your Revolt and putting any card back. And this is already a pretty decent end board, right? You have 1, 2, 3, 4 disruptions, as well as the follow-up Fraktall, just like last time. However, this can also be turned into full combo should this random card actually be any Tri-Brigade that isn't Karis or Kit. I mean, actually, opening Kit is kind of good, but should it be literally any Tri-Brigade, right? Because keep in mind, you didn't normal or use Farragut for either of these combos. So we're going to go ahead and go back. We're going to put our Bearbrum and our Farragut on board. And we can go ahead and we can activate Farragut effect or normal summon, it really doesn't matter. And we can special summon our random Tri-Brigade. As long as it's Nerval or Fraktall, it really doesn't matter. And we can go ahead and activate the effect of this because we have the Kit and the Cerberus now in our grave guaranteed. We can banish these two to summon our double Dragon Lords. And now we can use these three to summon our Appaloosa again. And now, we did admittedly get rid of our entire hand because we had to put something back off of the Bearbrum, discard an extra card off the Bearbrum, as well as use the Tri-Brigade in our hand. But we did gain a third negate on our Appaloosa, meaning you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 disruptions, as well as the Fraktall for follow-up for your access code. Not to mention, keep in mind that if you save your double Dragon Lords and you use your Shurug as removal first, you can go ahead and summon your Shurug. I'm going to go ahead and, ignore the banish material, right? It doesn't matter. We can summon our second Shurug, get our banish, right? And if you hold on to this double Dragon Lords, now you have the Shurug on board, and you can use the double Dragon Lords, sending the Shurug as cost, and now in a new chain, Shurug will activate, giving you a Barrel Canary for your hand for follow-up. This really works best as long as you don't have, or as long as you have a Lyrilusc engraved, meaning that if you had a Lyrilusc to discard for this combo, or if you just did the regular combo, not the Tri-Brigade combo, you will have a guaranteed Zeus/Assembled Nightingale for probably around 4,000 for damage on its own for the next turn, as well as the Fraktall off of your Nerval as well that you get off of the Revolt. And so you basically cover every base. If they manage to break your board and they set up even one negate, you can use the Fraktall, of course, banishing 3 to try and summon your Rugal for your access code, baiting out that negate there, and then you can just immediately go ahead and use your Barrel Canary, summoning itself and something else, going into your Assembled Nightingale, poking, making Zeus for at least 4 to 6, and they're going to have a bitch of a time getting through that. But with that out of the way, that's going to do it for my Tri-Brigade Lyrilusc / Bird Up deck profile. Be sure to tell me what you think about it in the comments below. I always love hearing people's feedback on my deck profiles, as well as tell me, of course, if you actually end up using this deck profile for yourself. I absolutely adore hearing when people actually do successfully with my deck profiles. I had someone do that on my last Bird Up deck profile, and it was really awesome to hear. Or just tell me if you're playing Bird Up yourself and what your experience has been like with the deck. While it's definitely not, up there with Based or anything anymore, I still feel like it's a very great deck, at least a solid high tier 2 to low tier 1.5 choice, and I do still personally enjoy playing it and will continue to do so until the release of Dinomorphia, Rexterm, and Dimension Force. But until then, once again, that's going to have to do it for the video. If you liked it, please sure to leave a like as it helps put this video and the channel into YouTube recommended, and if you really like this content and you want to see more like it, like the rest of my deck profiles, you should go ahead and subscribe because we're going to try and hit 1,500 subscribers by the time I graduate, and it would mean the world to me. But once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Aurora, signing off.